Hello everyone, today I am here to do another Mashup review. If you're unfamiliar with Mashup reviews on my channel, it is where I take usually 3 books, in this video it's going to be 4, but it's usually 3 books of kind of the same genre and review them for you all in one video. Today's genre is adult mystery thriller and I have 4 to talk about, so let's just get right into it. I will leave timestamps down below in case you want to hear my thoughts on one particular book. The books I will be talking about today are You by Carolyn Kepnes, Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter, The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, or The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, depending on where you live, I believe, by Stuart Torton, and Watching You by Lisa Jewell. The first book I want to talk to you about is You by Carolyn Kepnes. This is the book that has been out for a few years, and I'm just now getting on the bandwagon for it. So You is an adult mystery thriller, and we follow a character named Joe, and Joe works at a bookstore, and he meets a woman named Beck that comes into his bookstore one day, and after their meeting, he investigates Beck, would be putting it lightly. He really stalks Beck. He learns every single thing about her, where she lives, who her friends are, where she goes to school. Literally anything and everything he can find out about Beck, he does. He follows her. He does everything he can to be involved in her life and to become like her boyfriend. So that's what this book is all about. Actually told from the point of view of Joe, and so the whole time he's referring to You as like Beck, like he's watching You and things like that. This book was really good. I'm not surprised I love it. It took me so long to read it because of the whole creep factor. It's a book about a stalker and the lengths the stalker will go to get this girl. And it's an intense one at that. I will say out of all of these books, this one is the most really bad languages in this book. A lot of sexual scenes are in this book. A lot of disturbing things are in this book. So this one, out of all the ones I'm talking about, really is just really creepy. Did listen to it, and I recommend if you're interested in checking this book out to listen to the audiobook, because the book's already creepy, but when you listen to the audiobook, it ups the creep factor even more, because not only are you reading about him talking to you, you're listening to him saying, I watched you, and why would you do this? And it's just really creepy. This book has also been adapted to a Lifetime TV show, which I have seen the first episode of and have enjoyed. I plan to continue it. I just don't have cable. Yay. But okay, talking about the book overall, I enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I liked it. I liked it, but I hated every single character in this book, and I think that was intentional. I think the author wrote every single character in this book for you to literally not like anything about them, and that is exactly how I felt with every character. Joe was probably the most likable character of them all, yet he was the one that was the stalker that did all of these horrible things, but you found yourself almost kind of rooting for him in a way, and then you're like, wait, this is sick. Why would I do this? Because he is the most likable out of all of these really unlikable characters. Beck, you think at the beginning, she's a victim. She obviously is a victim throughout this whole book, but as you get to learn more about Beck, you grow to hate Beck because she's a horrible person. Oh my gosh. I almost think I've ever disliked a main character more than I have like in a book. And I say that like not lightly. Like, she was horrible. You meet Beck's friends, you dislike all of them. You meet other people, you dislike every single person in this book, including the main character Joe. He's the most likable, yes, but he's you know, he's got a lot of things wrong with him, but this is a book that you can fly through because you're addicted to figure out what happens, Joe's journey throughout this intentional stalking Beck, how he weaves himself into Beck's life, how Beck is as a person, how you just literally cannot stand anyone in this book. That is just so amazing to me that the author did that. Like, she wrote a book full of such unlikable characters, and for me, I always have to resonate or like a character, like at least one character in a book. I have to really, you know, like somebody. This is the first time ever, I think, I've ever read a book where I did not like anybody in the book at all, but I still like the book overall. Does that make any sense? I hope it does. Overall, if you want an addicting, fast-paced, really intense book, I would recommend You. It's a great read. Audiobook was great. You're gonna hate everybody in it, but you're gonna enjoy the ride. Like, it's interesting. Like, I said, like, you know, you feel like you're rooting for Joe because all of the people that you meet through Beck and things like that, you just are like, I don't want them. Please tell me I am not the only one that feels that way. I would love to hear your thoughts. There is a sequel to this book called Hidden Bodies, which I'm toying around with reading or not. It's gotten very mixed reviews on it. So if you've read Hidden Bodies and if you think I should read it or not, I would love to hear your opinions on it because I'm so on it. But either way, I did really enjoy this. Definitely one of my favorite thrillers of all time, even though, like, looking at this, I just am reminded about how much I hate every character in this book. Moving on to Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter. This is my first Karen Slaughter book, which I know is horrible. Karen Slaughter has written a ton of books before, and they're really popular, and I've just never gotten around to reading them. So this is my first one, and I've heard it's her most tame, so it's no surprise that I really enjoyed it. It's all about the notion of, do you really know someone? Do you really, you know your own mother? And it's all about figuring out your mother's past. So basically in this book, we follow a character named Andrea, and Andrea is with her mom one day at a diner, and this really big event happens, and basically she sees her mother in a whole new light, a light that she was never expecting to see her mother in, and Andrea has to run for her life after this event, and on the event of running for her life and through her journey, she uncovers her mother's past and who her mother really is, and it's all about, you don't really know someone. You don't know what's hidden beneath the surface. You don't know their deepest, darkest secrets. You don't know their past. So it's told halfway through Andrea's point of view, where she is going on this journey to figure out her mother and things like that. And it's also told in flashbacks of her mother's point of view and things like that. So it's very, very interesting. I really enjoyed it. It had a lot of twists and turns I wasn't expecting. I will say during a quarter of it, when we went to a couple of flashbacks, I was confused. I was like, how does this tie up, and how does this make any sense at all with the plot of the book? But it does, and it's really good. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. If you like Karen Slaughter books, I would love to hear what book you would recommend to me. I've heard a lot about Pretty Girls, but I've heard it's really gory, so you let me know. I would also give this book a 4 out of 5. Really enjoyed it. One of my favorite mystery thrillers. Next up is The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, or I also believe it's also called The 7.5 Deaths. I think if you were in the UK, which it was originally published in the UK, it was 7.5 Deaths. I don't know why it's called 7 Deaths here. I don't know. But it's by Stuart Torton, and this book is a mixture of Clue versus Groundhog Day, which is kind of really intriguing. So what pulled me to this book is the fact of that it was Clue and kind of Groundhog Day. This book is all about Aiden Turner, and Aiden Turner wakes up in a body that is not his own, and he is screaming some other girl's name, and he's somewhere that he has no recollection of being. He's in this manor, and basically he learns that he has to solve Evelyn Hardcastle's death. He has to figure out who the murderer is, and for every night he gets like 7 chances, and for every night he does not complete it, he wakes up in a different body the next day of someone else that lives in this manor. And that just sounded really intriguing to me. Like, that was so, like, how amazing does that sound? Like, you have to solve this murder, and you wake up in a different body from a different host each day to figure out, a different, like, lifestyle and whoever their point of view and things like that. The premise of this. But I am one of the few that did not love this book. If you go on Goodreads, it is flooded with 5 stars. I am not one of them. Give this book a 3.5 out of 5. First of all, it's very lengthy. I think it's honestly too lengthy for me as a mystery thriller. It is 500 pages pretty much. I think that for me is way too long for a thriller book. I think for a good thriller book, you need 300, maybe 350 pages at most. But that's just me personally. Every reader is different. Number 2, it was confusing. Like, Clue, you get the movie Clue, it's about a murder and the whodunit, and you follow different storylines. Was it Mrs. Peacock in the dining room with the candlestick? Things like that. I thought it was going to take I thought it was going to take a kind of a route like that, but it doesn't. Not only does he wake up in 7 different hosts each day, the timelines get very exaggerated. So if one host falls asleep, he wakes up in another host that's awake, and it just gets so insanely confusing. This is a book that if you are a die-hard mystery fan that loves having a piece of paper out and writing down different characters, what they look like, where they were at a certain time, this is a perfect book for you. Unfortunately, I am not a mystery reader like that. I like putting pieces together, but I don't like writing freaking pages of notes down to figure out who done it. The twists and turns in this book were really well done. I did not love the ending as well. I felt like it was kind of lackluster, honestly, but the whole big reveal was very interesting. I will say that. But I think the reason why I didn't love this book was the sheer confusion. It was so confusing. First of all, you have so many characters in this manner. It is ridiculous to keep up with, and the timelines are scrambled all about, and then you're in different bodies each day, and sometimes different bodies multiple times a day that you don't know who the crap you even are. So overall, I don't want to say I was unimpressed by this book. I was let down because I was expecting to give this book 5 out of 5 because of all the stellar reviews I've made of it. I mean, please take my advice with a grain of salt. I am very much a novice mystery thriller reader. It wasn't my type of mystery thriller, I guess you could say. I'd say if you're a big mystery lover, Agatha Christie, like those type of mysteries, you will probably really enjoy this book. Sadly, not for me. The last book I want to talk about is Watching You by Lisa Joel. This one is actually not out yet. It does not come out till December 26th, so apologize for that, but I'll just quickly tell you my thoughts about it in case you want to put it on your wish list or skip it completely. Hopefully that'll help. This book is, this is my first Lisa Joel book, and after reading this, I do want to read more of her books because I do really enjoy it. This is about this neighborhood, like on a hill, and we have different houses, and we're following a slew of people within this neighborhood, and they all kind of are obsessed with one another. They just watch one another. There's a mom that feels like people are after her, so she watches the neighbors. Then we have a boy that kind of documents the ongoings of the neighborhood. Then we have a girl that moves in with her brother and becomes enamored with one other neighbor. It's just all about watching people, aka the title, Watching You. This book also reminds me a lot of Big Little Lies by Leah Moriarty, wherein it reminds me of it because there is a murder at the very beginning of this book, much like Big Little Lies, and though it's not the main plot of the book, it's just kind of on the back burner. You're always really thinking about that there is a murder that's happened, who has been murdered, and much like Big Little Lies, throughout the book there are scattered like interviews from detectives throughout each one of these characters. They'll interview them like, where were you doing this, and da 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 da. So it reminds me a lot of Big Little Lies. I did really enjoy. It's in England. I love the atmosphere of it. I love that there were a lot of different mysteries going on with a teacher that maybe is not being the best teacher and doing a lot of really bad things. You have a woman that's thinking about kind of cheating on her husband. You have a boy that's really trying to figure out who he is. It's just a lot of different things, and I thought it was done well. I'd say it's not like really full-on mystery thriller. I'd say it's like kind of almost women's fiction with a dash of mystery thriller. I give this one like a 3.75 out of 5. I enjoyed it. It was addictive. I read it very quickly because I just was invested in the storyline. I want to read more of her books, so if you know any of her other books, please let me know. So there you have it, my thoughts and opinions on these 4 books right here. If you have read any of them, I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed them, if you didn't. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.